东西只能是吃，自己包太累了啊。
不好包。
不好，你觉得？
啊，不好包。
不好包啊，不好意思。
The history of what are now known as Baozi is both long and complex, tracing the evolution of many different regional, political, and cultural changes over the last 1800 years. According to Chinese mythology, Baozi share their origins with that of modern-day Mantou, and only emerged as a separate food group during the late Song dynasty. A popular story relates how today's steamed buns initially appeared in military camps during the Three Kingdoms period as a form of ritual sacrifice. Legend has it that as the famous Shu general Zhuge Liang returned from his southern expedition in 225 AD, he encountered a raging river that defied all attempts to cross it. After consulting local officials, a barbarian lord informed him that in the olden days, kings would sacrifice 50 men to appease the river spirits before attempting to navigate the rough waters. Zhuge Liang, however, was unwilling to cause any more needless bloodshed, and instead ordered his men to kill the cows and horses his army had brought along with them. The animals' meat was then stuffed into buns that were shaped like human heads, round with a flat base, and were in turn thrown into the river as replacements for decapitated prisoners. Ultimately, the ruse proved successful, and after a successful crossing, Zhuge Liang named his creations Mantou, which meant flower heads in contemporary Chinese. Thus, from this ancient deception, the modern steamed bun was born.
It is believed for the next 1,000 years, Baozi and Mantou remain one and the same, with the term flower heads describing both filled and unfilled variations. During the Song dynasty, however, the term Baozi first emerged as the preferred way to describe filled buns, while Mantou was reserved for describing unfilled versions. The reason for this distinction is not entirely clear, but it is thought that it was largely the result of the linguistic influence of the Jurchen invaders in the northern Song period. Many historians believe that it is because of this political division that in modern times northern regions distinguish between Baozi and Mantou, while southern regions still refer to steam buns with the original generic term. Baozi remained popular as a homemade snack and breakfast item throughout the next 500 years, but it wasn't until the late Qing dynasty that they emerged as a common commercial foodstuff. Beginning in the Tianjin area, with the establishment of the now famous Gobuli Baozi stand, many chains and family businesses have opened throughout modern China that specialize in steam buns filled with various meat and vegetable combinations. It is estimated that in Beijing alone, there are over 15,000 stores that specialize in making and selling this ancient treat. At the single location of the famous Xisi Baozi stand, for example, well over 12,000 yuan worth of sales are generated each and every day during the breakfast, lunch, and dinner hours. As a result of this intense and long-standing popularity throughout recent history, it is safe to say that Baozi are here to stay as a cherished part of the modern Chinese diet.
Because of the long and complicated history of modern Baozi, many different variations have developed throughout the regions of China. These include the standard Tianjin style of Baozi of the northern region, which consists of a thicker wheat bun and pork or vegetable filling. The char siu bao variation of the Guangzhou and Hong Kong area, which has a thinner wrapping and a barbecue pork-filled center. The famous xiaolong bao variation of Shanghai, which is a smaller, meat-filled baozi that sometimes contains a juicy broth. Because it is smaller than the standard bun and is prepared only with a thin, partially leavened dough, it is sometimes considered different from other baozi because it more closely resembles modern dumplings. The Shengjian Mantou style of baozi of the Shanghai and Hangzhou regions, which is a fried version of the standard Tianjin baozi. The Tong baozi variation of the Yangzhou region, which is a large, soup-filled bun that is often first drunk through a straw and then eaten. And the Yatsai style of baozi from the Sichuan region, which is filled with an assortment of pickles, peppers, meats, and vegetables, and is widely seen as the spiciest.
From this partial list of the types of baozi frequently eaten throughout modern China, both the range and scale of their popularity becomes evident. Baozi, more so than any other dish, is truly the peanut butter and jelly of the Chinese diet. Because of this importance, we decided that we wanted to examine the various types of baozi that are eaten in the Beijing area. In order to do so, we visited 3 local restaurants: the family-owned Hangzhou Meisher Baozi stand, a nearby location of the Qingfeng Baozi chain, and the Qianmen outpost of Tianjin-based Gobuli Baozi. Here's what we found.
你好，大姐，我们现在要去哪儿？
哦，你好，我们现在去包子店。
我们有很多的包子问题。
我们炖估计跟老板说话。
很方便。
哦，
我们走吧。
走吧。
这是我们每天早上习惯吃包子店，
叫杭州美食，是他们2个人的习惯。我是很懒，所以每天我在我的宿舍里吃早饭。
好，老板是我们的好朋友。
好，走吧。我们跟他们说一下。
This is La Ban Yang, one of the 2 owners of this little baozi shop that we often go to for breakfast. And this is her husband, the infamous Xie Laoban, who evidently at one point got a haircut. Together, they own and operate Hangzhou Meisher Baozi stand all day, every day. Let's see what they had to say.
你们什么时候来北京
90年。
90年。
对。
90年。
你的老家是在哪儿？
我们就杭州。
杭州没有特点的做包子的办法吗？
有，杭州包子有什么特点？对。
杭州包子不使化学品，知道吗？
知道。
这个不使化学品。不用化学原料。用化学。这种面条，人家不是有加增白剂的吗？馒头放点化学原料，不看起来白了吗？
白的哦。
我们这个不加。
真的。
啊，还有这个发面，包子必须发面。发面我们用这个老面发，也不加化学品。
那个面团是你自己买的，或者你自己做的？
面团要面团。
自己做的，天天自己做，就是这么多的。
面团。
你怎么开始做包子？
有一次吃的好吃，就开始学做包子，就这样，不是说祖辈传下来的。我们是2个人都下岗了，没有工作，然后吃着这个好吃。北方人喜欢吃这个。
所以呢，你开始做这样的北方人。
来北京。北京来吃这个，南方人喜欢吃这个。南方人，你开这个小店，去南方人不怎么喜欢吃。就早点，而且也没有那么多。
在上海，你们有特别好吃的包子吗？
上海不喜欢，
不喜欢。
上海不喜欢吃包子，北京人喜欢吃。
为什么？
他刚才说了，南方人不喜欢吃包子，北方人喜欢吃包子。
After learning about the differences between northern and southern culinary preferences, we asked Xie Laoban to go deeper into what distinguishes his little shop from the big competitors.
我们的包子不添加那种添加剂，这发起来的面粉必须经过发酵，是吧？我们是自身发酵。对，发面，发酵啊。
发酵。
对。但他们这个呢是那种化学原料发的酵，不一样。我们的最大的区别是这个。从一开始我们这个发酵的话，最起码的，像现在这个时候，最起码的10小时以上，10个小时以上。
10个小时，天天。
对，他们的只要是20分钟就可以做。对，
因为这是
自然的。
那清风和你听说过狗不理包子吗？
也一样。
他们做的是什么样？你觉得？
他们的工艺跟我们的都不一样。
不是自然的还是？
应该不是自然。
啊。
是，你可以尝起来这个区别吗？如果你在这儿吃，
专门吃的人他能吃出来。
能吃起来。
就是这个面你咬的时候是吧？没有这个自然发酵的那个松软弹性，它那个咬起来比较硬一点，但弹性比较小。
帮我来一个小笼包吧。
我再来一个紫菜汤。
他们有比较小的笼，所以叫做小笼包。
可以看那些汉字。
写在窗户上，小笼包。
注意，笼的字，上面有竹子。
对，
竹子，对，很有道理。
很有道理。
因为它是竹子做的，所以它是有竹子。
And so ends our trip to Hangzhou Meisher. Next, we paid a visit to one of the big Baozi chains just mentioned, Qingfeng Baozi. Because of Qingfeng's corporate nature and large scale, at first we didn't know where to begin. Eventually, we started talking to the girl behind the front counter, who told us about Qingfeng and her experiences working there.
我们知道这个包子店有一个很长的历史，有什么样的历史？
为什么很有历史？
没有，就是从最原先古代传下来，是一直庆丰是最有名的。最原先的时候，庆丰也就很出名，所以一代一代往下传，传到现在。
你的客人买几份？一共要会买几份包子？
这可说不准，有的时候3斤4斤的都可以。对，这可没准儿。庆丰是在北京有100多家，各个东西都有。
很有意思。
在河北。
河北没有，在北京这一个地区什么都有。
他们做包子的人，在这儿工作的多长时间了？
这工作时间也不一样，对这个，比如说这个店开业3年，有的人在这工作了3年，有的人是刚来，这工作期间也不一样。也有新人，也有老员工，也不一样。
花多长时间学怎么做包子？
培训时间什么学会什么为止。
Until they master how to make it, then stop.
明白了，谢谢。
你英文特别好，很清楚。After chatting at length with this nice lady, she was kind enough to invite us back the next day to interview her manager.
跟你的经理说话。
应该可以。
好，谢谢，明天见。
再见。
从开始到结束。
And here is the manager himself. A 30-year veteran of Qingfeng Baozi, he was kind enough to take us back into the kitchen and tell us about the ins and outs of the day-to-day operations and history.
你选择这个工作，我们毕业以后就在这儿炒约炒菜。
Next, the manager showed us a book which chronicled the story of Qingfeng Baozi.
他们今年开始。
他们
1956。
从56年以前
14人，对，
然后变成了一个比较大的公司，
对，公司合并，现在11个，11个，
为什么你家空的？
这是公司家，公司，
为什么公司有什么原因 加新的包子，
新味道的。
那适合于老百姓，啊。
清风包子有多少不同的地方
160多，
都是在北京。
对，真的吗？你们为什么还没有去过别的地方？比方说上海没有地方。我们打算就先挨北京，然后慢慢发展到慢慢
渐渐的。
一个包子多少折？小的18个，一个包子18个啊。OK，
一个标准，
对，
通的，
对。
在别的比较小的包子店，在街上等等，他们没有这样的标准，对不对？
对，只有庆丰。
就是清风的
标准，
对，特色。
庆丰
不管什么清风的地方，
对，
都这样做，
这样
他们的公司的
，very reliable, I guess. After finishing the interview and thanking the manager, we decided to sample some of his baozi before heading to our final destination in Qianmen, Gobuli Baozi.
我们现在站在前门，这是
中国有包子店，
历史非常长，这个很有名的包子店，是从天津来的。The man you see in white is the head chef of this particular outpost of Gobuli Baozi. He had a lot to tell us about Gobuli's history.
谢谢。
天津高丽包子嘞
Gobuli 是一个非常有名的包子店。
对。
你们在北京有几个地方？
有3个地方。
都是在前门吗？
有一个在王府井，
在王府井。
就在2个在这儿，还有一个在
王府井。
好。你觉得你的包子为什么很有名？有什么特色？
因为首先它的历史有100多年的历史，做出来的那个形状有18个褶儿
，18个褶儿
，18个褶儿，你要去数，它像一朵花似的，而且它的皮薄馅儿很大，所以呢，这是天津狗不理的特点。天津狗不理的特点，皮薄馅儿大，然后呢，它非常美观，做出来跟一般的包子不一样，一般的包子这么大，而且它没有18个褶儿，它没有天津狗不理包子那种做工那么细致，所以说呢，它的非常有名，是这样。
你在这工作了多久
？5、6年了。
6年了。在这个地方吗？还是在别的？
从天津调到北京。
真的。你好，这是天津吗？
天津。
是谁教你的？
我的师傅在天津嘛。
师傅在天津。
所以你一边做包子一边学做。
您有没有一个学生？您教他们做包子？
有。
他是你的学生吗？他是你的学生吗？
对，他是我的徒弟。
你每天卖几个包子？你一天卖几个包子？
一天。
卖
我这个店每天卖差不多3000多个包子。
为什么你的特点是肉的包子？为什么你不卖蔬菜？因为
没有人喜欢那个，很多人就是根据客人的喜好，因为很多客人他不喜欢吃这个。
你的客人是什么样的人？是北京人或者是
游客比较多。
是哪个国家的人？什么国家？中国的哦。在你看来，为什么包子是中国人很喜欢吃的主饭？主食？
北方以面食为主，南方以米饭为主，因为北方生产小麦，南方生产大米，这是 中国几千年来的文化，几千年来的文化。然后呢，南方水比较多，适应那个米稻谷的生长。北方水比较少，它适合小麦的生长，它适应那个地方生长，所以说这样适应北方水。
你们的公司为什么有这个很奇怪的名字？狗不理的包子。
因为它的那个当初100多年前，我刚才跟你提到，因为它在100多年前有一个狗子，可以看这里，狗不理，它创于1858年。
The chef then drew our attention to this incredibly boring and convoluted plaque you see now. It did, however, explain how Gobuli got its unusual name. Here's the gist of the story. Over 100 years ago, a man by the name of Gao Guiyou was born just outside of Tianjin. His father nicknamed him Gozi, the Chinese word for dog, with the hope of raising a loyal, obedient son. Gozi grew up and soon moved to Tianjin proper, where he became an apprentice at a local Baozi shop. After 3 years as an apprentice, he opened his own stand, which soon became famous for its high-quality product. But making Baozi soon became so time-consuming that he began to ignore his close friends and customers, concentrating solely on his work. Hence the name Gobuli Baozi, or literally, Go ignores.
所以叫狗不理。它是一个人，狗是一个人的名字它不是小狗，不是小狗，不是小狗。
你最喜欢的包子是什么？
狗不理包子。
狗不理啊！好，很好，谢谢。
So concludes our final interview. Having visited 3 different Baozi shops, all having very different stories, products, and philosophies, we have learned all about the various types of Baozi and their importance to Beijing's culinary culture. We met a couple from Hangzhou who started making Baozi on a whim, a 30-year veteran of an iconic Beijing Baozi chain, a master chef employed by one of China's oldest Baozi brands, as well as an assortment of other characters. We ate a lot and learned even more about the emphasis on natural ingredients at some small mom-and-pop shops, the 18-pinch standard at the big chains, and the reasons for the differences between northern and southern staple foods. At the end of it all, Baozi, the breakfast snack that has been such an integral part of our experience here in Beijing, is so much more than a tasty treat. It truly is the Chinese peanut butter and jelly.